Hey guys, this is Doug Polk from Upswing Poker. Today I want to talk about how to play Ace-King preflop, and I kind of want to take this in broad strokes. Ace-King is a very strong hand, and it should be played as such. Oftentimes I see a lot of weaker players, or maybe more conservative professionals, playing Ace-King like it's simply a drawing hand. And while it's true, Ace-King is an unpaired hand, Ace-King is still a very strong holding. Even up against quite strong ranges, Ace-King retains a lot of its equity, and oftentimes you'll be dominating many of the players that are playing against you. In multi-way pots, you still have the best unpaired hand, so you dominate plenty of Ace-X and King-X hands that your opponents might play. So it is my recommendation that you should be playing Ace-King as a premium holding because it is one. Now, that oftentimes gets confused where people think, okay, I'm supposed to play this aggressive, so I'm always going to play for all my chips when I have Ace-King. Poker isn't that simple. While I would oftentimes play Ace-King aggressively early in a hand, such as the first raise or a re-raise, when facing serious aggression, it's okay to play Ace-King in a passive action such as a call. Let me give you a couple of different examples. Let's say someone opens on the button, and I'm in the small blind with Ace-King. Here, with only 3 players in the hand that are left to play, being the button, myself, and the small blind, and the big blind, I'm more than happy to play for 100 big blinds with Ace-King. The button's range can have many wide hands, Ace-King does quite well against them, and I'm happy to play for all of my chips. I'm only in bad shape against aces or kings, and even against kings it's not the end of the world. I still have about 25 to 30% equity, depending on suits and whatnot. So it's my opinion that when you have Ace-King in these late position situations, you want to be playing this hand extremely aggressively and treating it like the nuts. Now let's take a very different example. Let's say you're playing in a live full ring game. The under the gun player raises in, you re-raise him from under the gun +1, and it folds back to him. He decides to re-raise quite big against you, again pre-flop for the 4th bet. Here you should be quite concerned about Ace-King. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you should fold. I think calling is a very reasonable option. But it's quite likely, if your opponent has a good hand, that they have, in fact, aces or kings. Or possibly a bluff. But, they're much more likely to have those extremely strong holdings. So there, you've put in enough aggression with Ace-King. You've knocked out some of the blinds. You've isolated one person. You've done a lot of really good things with a strong hand. But that doesn't mean you have to take this to the felt. Another important thing to consider when playing Ace-King are your opponents. Is the guy who raised in first an aggressive loose player? If so, you might decide that it makes sense to always play Ace-King for all your chips because you simply cannot allow him the room to bluff you. I would say as a general rule, probably against me in my poker career, people that played Ace-King aggressively fared well. However, if you're playing someone and you've either seen from their stats online or from their live tendencies that they're a conservative player or maybe a weak player, then it can make more sense to put Ace-King in some more passive lines. That said, I would not be calling raises with Ace-King. I think Ace-King is far too strong for that, and I would never be limping into the pot with Ace-King, mainly because I don't limp hands anyway. So when you have Ace-King, you need to take into account position, size, opponent, and how many people are left to play. Those are all very important. In a 4-handed game, Ace-King is often going to result in someone getting stacked if you decide to play for all your chips and they decide to play for theirs. So you want to keep all of these things in mind when playing Ace-King, and also keep in mind that while Ace-King is a very good hand, you do also have aces and kings in your range of strong holdings. So be aggressive with Ace-King, try and build up that pot, but if things get too dicey, remember, you don't have to get stacked. It's okay to just call pre-flop.